any one of you?
I am Iron and will always be human.
Live.
I am Iron and will always be human. I am Iron and will always.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final episode of I Am Still Human. This was our effort to try to laymanize the beautiful encyclical of Pope Leo, Magnifica Humanitas, and see how it really applies to our daily life. And today, as we close this web series, we're going to delve into the important discussion of the ethics of AI and the responsibility of the builders. So before we do that, let me remind you that we have a QR code, a Padlet, where you can join us and give us your thoughts, your questions, your insights, and we'll be surely to bring it to our resource speakers so they may converse with you even after the series. Starting our series tonight, let us take a look at this short video presentation.
In a sweltering outdoor market in Southeast Asia, an elderly vendor wipes sweat from her brow after a full day of physical labor. For millions of workers in her position, survival now increasingly relies on digital microloans, processed instantly through fintech. In a sweltering outdoor market in Southeast Asia, an elderly vendor wipes sweat from her brow after a full day of physical labor. For millions of workers in her position, survival now increasingly relies on digital microloans, processed instantly through fintech applications on their smartphones. But the rules governing her financial life are written thousands of miles away, in the sterile, climate-controlled tech hubs of Singapore. Here, programmers optimize for 3 goals. First, speed. A block drops onto the scale, representing the push to process millions of requests instantly. Then, risk mitigation prioritizes the institution's capital, tipping the scale further. Finally, maximizing loan volume breaks the scale entirely, ensuring corporate profit. To maintain this pace, the system relies on alternative data. It ignores actual business history, judging by her zip code or her phone's age. In a single millisecond, her application is rejected by an automated script.
You're muted, Pi. Pi, you're muted at the moment.
Okay. Hi, and welcome back. Now, the video discussed what happens when algorithm takes over the decisions of people. For instance, if somebody's applying and it's just the algorithm looking at the application without really understanding the context behind. And tonight, we're very lucky to have our guest for this webisode. I'd like to pronounce his name properly. This is Dr. Peter uh, Vientianchai. Oh, I missed it. Dr. Peter is, a well-known communicator in the global Catholic Church, and also a computer specialist. So, Dr. Peter, welcome to this presentation. So, probably my first question in your professional life, both as a computer specialist and as a communicator, how has AI affected decisions?
Okay. Maraming salamat po. Thank you for having me here today. I guess before I answer any questions, I need to provide a disclosure. In that it has been, I think, almost 8 years since my last social media post.
8 years.
8 years, yes.
Any particular reason because why that long?
Oh, I think we'll come to that as we come
Okay.
along, but really um it's really something that I didn't really appreciate from the start. When, especially when people during COVID, when people seem to be curating their posts, and I see every day that people are struggling. So there was that disconnect
Uh-huh.
between
Uh-huh.
the reality and really that just reaffirmed that I really did not want to um, contribute to that disconnection. So I think with with AI, I think there's a similar caution that I have personally. Um, but also I think before discussing anything, when we say AI, from a technical perspective, we have to distinguish between what we call domain-specific AI and general intelligence AI.
Okay.
So I think it's two very different thing, not just from the technical perspective, but from the application perspective. So an AI that is used to spot cancer through CAT scan, MRI scans is very different to an AI that is being sold as replacing a whole person. So I think any discussions it would be useful to make that distinction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So given that, um, how do you see the advent of AI as it enters into the everyday life of people?
Mm-hmm. I guess one of the things that I could make an example of is from my own experience, um, because it's such a bit embarrassing example that I don't want to impose on anyone else. Um, it started off really from right near the beginning. Well, it was by then. We thought it was going to be over, but actually, in fact, it was just the beginning when Pope Francis commented on the situation in the Ukraine, where he
Mhm.
says Ukraine should have the courage of the white flag. Um, and so the press, secular press, was going completely negative on that. And I thought, I'm sure he didn't mean to surrender. There must be other situations when the white flag doesn't mean surrender. So in those days, I think it was version 2 or something of ChatGPT
Mhm.
that I asked, give me examples of history when the white flag did not mean surrender. Um, and um, and it gave me a really good summary of the situation. One of which I think I remember was soldiers in the Ming Dynasty China were using white flags to honor the dead so that they can pick the dead to bring the dead back from the battlefield. So it wasn't a surrender. It was to pay respect to the dead. And I thought this was brilliant. This was absolutely brilliant. And this will show, you know, what Pope Francis really meant. He didn't mean to surrender. It just means to stop and reflect. It all made perfect sense. And so we were working on it in an editorial. This was Lycus News. So
Mhm.
because I'm directly involved with that, I can show this almost fatal flaw. And of course, my much better colleague, the editor, Mark Saludas, decided to fact check on it.
Mhm.
And it turns out that ChatGPT 2.0 just cannot say no to my question and just made it up. And it would have been a fatal flaw editorially and reputationally for Lycos had I just gone ahead and trusted this absolutely beautiful written piece of text from ChatGPT. So, as I said, I think if it was domain-specific AI that has been trained to do a particular thing, I'll probably have more trust in it, have more value in what it's going to say. If this thing says this X-ray looks like there is a tumor here, then that helps me to, if as a doctor, to actually zero in on that possibility. While when I was being a lazy and rather incompetent editorial member of the team, it could have been disastrous because this was general AI trying to answer a question that it was not specifically trained on in terms of the data. So yes, that is a hopefully a useful concrete example to not only try to get the shortcuts, but also to be authentic. I was not an expert in any military history, and I was trying to feed this information to my staff, perhaps for good intention of defending Pope Francis, but I think I would have made his case much worse had I gone through with it.
I think the lesson there also, if I may just add, is that AI is not necessarily lying to you, but AI is trained to answer based on patterns, based on probabilities. And if you don't really give it the proper context, it will just, hallucinate. It will just try to please you, give the answers that it feels most is closest to what you're asking. So I would turn back the responsibility to the person using it. That, well, it's true that you need to look to AI sometimes because it's faster in terms of research, but you have to give it proper context and again vet it, especially if you're doing something that as factual as those things. Yeah, that's truly said. Now, well, in writing, most of the time, well, you said that you're trying to be a lazy editor, and sometimes because you're trying to beat the deadline, you have to rely on the quickness of AI. Uh, how can we balance it? Because there are things that AI can help us with, but as you said, if we just rely on it, it would be detrimental to certain professions. So what's the best way to be able to balance it, get the best out of it without compromising our own, humanity, dignity, and creativity?
Yeah. No, I think this session it's from the publication, obviously, of Magnifica Humanitas. When you read through the text, for me it's a celebration of humanity. It's a defense of that, and actually, I think if it was published 20 years ago, it would still be applicable because it is about the humanity. It's if there was a movie recently with a famous phrase in French, "Vive l'humanité." It's like a cry for not a battle cry, I would say, but a wake-up call. And the reason I say he could have published it 20 years ago or the same text, it's AI that makes it now much more appreciated, this defense of humanity. While 25 years, a quarter of a century ago, good Lord, it would have people would have said, oh, you're just why are you so concerned about Facebook or MySpace or whatever? It helps to connect people, but no one really expected to be I think one of the speakers at the Vatican conference recently said, it's a social catastrophe. The way that things are incentivized, the economic model. I think one of your previous speaker was saying, you can theorize, you can advise, but in the end, it's going to be the economics that determines how people behave. So I think that is something that we need to acknowledge when you're saying, how can we counter anything? What can we do, you know, to balance what AI has to give? But I think if we take it from the humanity perspective, there was a quote, if I may share with that at that conference. It actually it was said before the publication of Magnifica Humanitas by Prefect Dr. Paolo Ruffini of the Dicastery for Communication. We should know him very well now. There were two sentences. Dr. Ruffini is so sharp with his words. There are two sentences. Society should strive for relationship with others that is not just a computation. And the next one, human beings can never be reduced to a profile, a datum, an algorithm. So I think with AI, with social media, with any technology, I think that's something that needs to be kept in mind. You know, I'm still amazed when I was asked by your very, very reverend Bishop Juni to talk about AI previously, and it is very daunting because AI develops so fast.
That's true.
So you prepare if you have a slide, you prepare your slide a month ago, the things has already changed. Your capability has already changed. So I think there is no manual to say, oh, if AI can produce this kind of picture, if AI produces photorealistic video, if they get this context right, then it's okay. It's more, what does it mean from the human side? What does it mean when you use AI? What does it mean for genuine human connection? So I think it's not to say, oh, Anthropic is much more ethical than another AI company, so you go and use Anthropic. Things will change. Next week, things will change. So I think with the document Magnifica Humanitas, it gives us those principles by which we can ask questions about what we can do with technology, with the change, with industrial revolution, 2.0, 3.0, etc.
There's a school of thought that we can treat AI like a neutral tool, like what Dr. Maggie said, it's like a knife. It's neutral, it depends on how you use it, or it's like a car. It's neutral, but it depends what kind of driver you are. But in the encyclical of the Pope, he said that AI is not neutral. Can you shed light on this?
Oh, wow. That's a tall task for me to follow Dr. Maggie. Yes. He has a lot of things that enlighten me with, for sure. Okay. Is it neutral? Of course, it's not neutral. No technology is neutral. Another speaker, as I said, there's an economic reason for doing something, right? Again, I'm using an example from the conference, which for the Dicastery. One of the examples was that, yes, you can have an AI that can function, give a very good response when you're saying, I'm drinking far too much alcohol. I'm really sad at the moment because of this and this reason. And it would give a good prompt in terms of what you can do, what you can read, how about this? You can talk to me later if you're still feeling down. Very sophisticated, very human, dare I say, response. But the speaker there, he said, but you know what, you're never going to get a response where it says, thank you for sharing that with me. Because you said you have this problem, I found 12 groups in your local area where you can go and talk about this problem with people who are also struggling. And you really should not be talking to a machine about this for economic reason, because every time you send a prompt, you're using the compute unit and you're paying for it. Why would it's a conflict of interest for them to stop you from using the system. So the economic of the AI, there's it's like trying to tell social media to say, please try to find a way for people to use you less. They make the money from that. And let's not vilify the owner, let's be fair. The shareholders are expecting them to make money. The people on pension funds are making, expecting them to make money. So let's not them shoulder, everything onto supposedly evil owners. But, when you have a system that profits from attention, a profit from continued interaction, it's never going to be neutral. And so, but it doesn't mean the encyclical says in itself, I think it's about the word they used was to disarm AI. I have the sentence here actually. It says to disarm means discrediting the assumption that technical power automatically confers a right to govern. To disarm does not mean rejecting technology, but preventing it from dominating humanity. So it's a very, very well considered text. It's not as simple as saying, yeah, don't use AI, it's evil. Even if the owner of the AI is evil, there are still uses to it. Dr. Maggie Meyer, I keep on calling him by his full thing. Dr. Maggie Meyer, he's right. I mean, in terms of the way you turn things around, it really depends on what you use it for. But the platform itself is geared towards making money from your interaction with it. So imagine a hospital, a private hospital, perhaps. Some of you may be familiar with that in your region. There is a little bit of conflict of interest there because the longer they keep you in, the more money they're going to make, right? That might be a familiar situation.
You're putting it that way, yes. But it's also possible, Dr. Peter, that while, business can be done, business with profit, but ethical profit. But it's also possible that the people behind the program can put that in mind, that while you keep the interaction for certain things, is it possible that when the prompt is this, it's something that needs to uh, connect the person on the other end to other people, it would have that program inside it. That's also possible, if only it would be in the consciousness of the people doing that.
I think realistically, if it's a general AI, that's not something that would be programmed in, because from what I understand, I'm sure there'll be others who have a much better understanding, the technical understanding of this. Even the people at OpenAI, they do not know line by line how the response comes. It's a statistical computation that after this word, this next word would be it, etc., etc. So I think it's unrealistic to program every single desirable responses into there, given how unpredictable to that level responses can be. Having said that, if the programmer or the developer are thinking about specific applications, I think that's where it can be something that is good. Is quite specific. I gave the example of I think, yeah, of a potential alcoholic seeking help.
Mhm.
A psychologist who is part of the audience may say, Peter, actually, it might be a case where the person is shy, he really doesn't want to go out. You know, there is a moment where the response of ChatGPT is a correct one. So there is no, especially in a general sense, unless there's no sure way of saying this is the best response or this is a good response. But if you have a domain specific AI, then you can be much more, you have a higher probability that the outcome to say, this is an 85 probable chance that this person has cancer here. That one, you could say, yes, it's a neutral response, but it will be a useful response, right? While you can say, you can use AI to start to see, oh, how do we control the traffic light in the town to be the most efficient, which is beyond a single human brain could do. But if you can have a million data points and you can get the traffic to flow, you can pretty much guarantee that the output can be optimized and can have a desirable output. So for me, from a technical perspective, I don't see I don't see the point of cloning humans, which is for me, that's basically what they're trying to do, and they're trying to sell that as well. Biological cloning of human is illegal. Why is silicon-based cloning not illegal, right? So I think again, back to the encyclical, I think a lot of people feel this unease already, but the encyclical really formalize it for a lot of people. As I said, if you're trying to critique AI, it's a moving target. But if you focus on what the effect of this moving huge, huge, with all its tentacles reaching to everything, if you look at it from the humanity perspective, then you can analyze it. You can kind of say, yeah, I don't mind having AI try to see whether I have cancer or not. I don't mind AI optimizing how much water this field gets given. You know, I don't mind AI making sure that I get to work as quickly as possible or waste as little fuel as possible. So I think in terms of limiting AI, I don't think that is the question. It's really how much of humanity a certain technology is serving.
Um, the examples you've given, I think that's pretty clear that AI is very helpful there. But there are certain gaps creatively that AI can respond to. For instance, I'm feeling so inspired. I want to write a song, but I'm not a songwriter, and I turn to an AI app. Did I let go of my humanity because I turned it over to an AI app to do something creative for me?
Personally, for me, it depends what you do next, because if you go up to your children, or if you're a teacher, you go up to your students, say, oh, this is what I wrote last night. You are abdicating your humanity in that case. But if you go up to the children and say, hey, you know, I use AI to do this, can you do it better? I can't write music. It's done this, but I know, Alicia, you're very good at this. How would you have done it? You know, then you still got
I
that
see.
again, Dr. Magimai, he's right. It depends what you do with it next, right? The
Yeah.
act of using AI to compose music itself may not be detrimental to humanity, but once you've done that, what do you do with what you've done with AI?
Now, given all these things, that AI is really not neutral, that people tend to abuse it because it's there, it's available. that there are certain challenges in how people are formed, especially the young people. How do we respond? How do we respond as, formators, as communicators, as a church?
Okay.
Well, I know that there is that encyclical, but that everybody would, go through that. Practical ways on how we can protect our humanity.
Okay. Let me start with the social communication angle. Since this is a Cygnus Philippines event, so thank you so much for arranging this. This is amazing. For social communication, I think we've spoken a lot about solutions journalism as Cygnus, and it didn't emerge from AI explicitly, because solutions journalism has been around long before AI was practically accessible. Now, if we step back a bit more, so for example, you're asking what the church should be doing. If the reason I'm on this episode now, I don't think I'm pretty sure it did not come from an engagement on Facebook, right? On an exchange. As I said, it's a Cygnus event, and just to do a bit of self-promotion, Cygnus is a genuine network of
Yes.
professional Catholic communicators around the world. It is not a cloud service. It's not a social media platform. It's a network around the world of people wanting to use communication media to promote peace and support the church. So what I see Cygnus as, it's people genuinely engaging with each other, right? Whether they agree with each other or not, they're still engaging with the
Yes.
same goal, right? Now, with social communications, and I mentioned solutions journalism, and it was our wonderful former Vice President LJ from Malaysia who introduced that to me in a workshop, a Cygnus Malaysia solutions journalism workshop. I found it to be, it wasn't to grab attention quickly. It was something that it covered the challenge. It wasn't just about solutions. It covered the challenges of people in the story. It covered the irregular path that they should take, that they've been taking, and the mistakes that they've made. And when you tell stories like that, you didn't just say, oh, the church managed to plant 10,000 trees. Great. But you tell a story of how the religious sisters, she started planting maybe 10 trees, and other people got interested, but she couldn't find any more money for it because the local authority didn't agree to it. There was no land for it. She tried to go to, I'm making this up, by the way, so don't blame any religious orders. The
All right.
superior
All right.
said no, the bishop said no, so she had to do this, this, and this.
Okay.
So that is a story that would engage, not just with the Catholic world, but with non-Catholics as well. So it's not a saintly story, but the solutions journalism side for social communication, I think that's where we can start to create genuine engagement. As I said, I'm not a social media user. So when I see
Lucky
people,
you.
thank you. But I know there are good applications for it, especially because I'm supposed to be what do you call it, mentoring and facilitating a discussion with influencers in Philippines later
Oh,
this
yes.
year,
We'll be there
right?
together.
Yes. So I still have an open mind. I know good things can come of it, but I know that I'm not going to be doing good things with it. So when you people are doom scrolling and then they click like, right? And then you've got a page that has 10,000 of that, 100,000 of that. I think you go back and ask, well, what does that mean for the mission, right? What does it mean to have been liked while someone is doom scrolling? Maybe there's another way of interacting online. Maybe there's a more positive way, which I hope I'll find in that conference later. But I think, you know, there was a mission again in the Philippines. This is real. The leader of the mission asked me, you know, we have a faceless Facebook. Can you help do something about it? So I told him I don't use social media. But then I asked Father, you know, even if you have 10,000 likes, how would that change your mission? What is it that you really want? You want people, what are the real engagement that you want? If he is trying to do something specific on social media in that space, then yes, you work that out. But when he said by default, it's a bad thing to have very low engagement on his social media profile, on his institution's social media profile, I don't see as an immediate negative. That particular mission, he's helping many youth. He's helping to defend the land from industrial encroachers. So I think he's done pretty good engagement already. So yeah, coming back to what we're doing with church social media, I think firstly we need to see what is it that we are measuring, because you know, you get sold AI, they're going to save manpower, we're going to save all this money, but what value is it going to destroy in terms of and are those values, are they non-negotiable for the church? So I mean, if you want some solid recommendations on that, I have to go back to Pope Francis. It's something that's really kept in my mind. For the local parish, not just communicators, I'll say be the shepherd. You're not leading lambs to the slaughter, right? You're not trying to be as efficient as possible. You're not trying to herd as many of them to the slaughter as possible. You're taking care of the flock. And your goal is to try to involve as many people as possible. So the inspiration of it is Pope Francis when at the World Youth Day in Portugal, when he said, I don't know how to pronounce this exactly, but for me it's todos, 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 everyone, 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 right? As someone in the church, you're not trying to be as efficient as possible. The challenge is to be authentic. The challenge is to connect. And at the danger of making this even wider, the challenge is to be synodal. Because that is the key. So, you know, a priest, someone working in diocesan communication, I don't have the resource to do this, right? I can use AI to produce this. Maybe just ask, can someone help make this graphics for me? I can't do this graphics. Can someone help with this? I'm pretty certain that if you ask, someone will come to help. And that help does not just result in the output of the graphics that you want, but it creates that connection. It creates that synodality, and the power is that you're showing that you're listening to them. I mean, genuine listening between fellow human beings, it's really powerful. Remember that phrase from Pope Francis, listen with the ears of the heart.
Yes.
I know the prompts, the dialogue can be really convincing, really supportive, but can you truly say that they're listening with the ears of the heart?
So they don't have a heart in the first place.
It might sound like it, but again, I think humans are not just a process of input output. Humans are a result of relationships, and listening with the ears of the heart. None of that is efficient. It's not optimized. It's something very vulnerable that you do. Sometimes it's painful, but it's a trust. It's a trust that works. So I think it is more scary to try to make that connection. It's more scary to show that I'm afraid, for example, Lycus News, Cygnus, we don't have the resource for this, and this. Ask for help. Our membership, Cygnus membership, for example, it's not done in Rome. It's not done in Paris. It's not done in Europe. It's done by this wonderful lady called Kanya in Cambodia, because we asked for help. We asked for help, and she provided the help when we needed it. And that connection is so invaluable. So I think that's something, I can't tell priests how to do their job. And also, in terms of experience of running social communication departments, I'm probably the least experienced out of all the audience here. But I do take a lot of comfort in the words of Pope Francis, which it's amazing when I read the encyclical of Pope Leo, that it makes me think so often of our Holy Father, Pope Francis.
Thank you for that sharing. I picked up a lot of things. I'd like to just mention that the very first episode we had was entitled "The Beauty of Being Broken," and it says that when we get hurt, when we are in pain, that is the time when grace comes in. That is the time when we start to build connections, and that is the time when we are most human. And that echoes in what you said. If I just can wrap up some things that you said, or that technology advances. By after this episode, there is something new happening already. We cannot catch up because it's so fast. But what will remain is the foundation of values, the values that makes us human. And you said it beautifully. Being human is actually connecting with people, connecting when you are broken, connecting when you need help, connecting because that is what matters. And in defense of the social media space, because I am in social media, but not as off. I'm not an influencer. I have, less than 1,000 friends. My kids have more friends than I have. But I always tell the young people or the people that I have engagement with, the spaces, the connections that you build online should be brought offline at the end of the day. It's your starting point. You can't just end in your virtual space. You have to bring them to the physical space. And I think that's what you're saying, that at the end of the day, it's that even if we're not physically talking, Peter, we're still connecting. And I'm very happy that, you responded to this cry for help, call for help, to be able to discuss this. Now, I'm going to give you the very hard job, because this is the last episode, of giving us the closing words that would wrap up how can we still be human in the light of the encyclical of the Holy Father? And what's the moral challenge we need to give to the people behind the applications, our formators, and people who have the authority to make change?
Wow, yeah, you said it. It's going to be difficult. The easy one would be for the developers, the software developers. I would my line to them would be, is this the best you can do? I mean, and on a serious front, it's like everyone is piling into AI, and it's whether you can get enough chips, especially NVIDIA chips and stuff to do the computation, etc. Everyone's piling into it, and everyone's just trying to make the money off it. But it's innovators don't follow the crowd, right? To the software developers, yeah, is this the best you can do? So yeah, there's, I mean, a concrete example is this great marketing guru, Rory Sutherland, who says, instead of spending 10 billion on making the train 15 minutes faster, you can spend 1% of that and serve every passenger champagne every time they travel, and no one would ask for the journey to be 15 minutes faster. So to the developers, is this the best you can do? Because you're not thinking different. You're not being innovative, right? You're just using up all the energy, all the fossil fuels, etc., to create a computer generated Christmas card. So no, the main challenge is, I think for the developers, I think they feel it too, because they are losing their jobs, a lot of them. I'm sure this is not the best they can do, so I look forward to seeing what they can create that better serves humanity and make a lot of profit. And the message to social communication, the message to the church, trust in the power of listening, synodality. I think whatever you do with the technologies, whether it's just sending an email, whether it's creating the next homily, writing the next opinion piece, are you truly listening to the people that needs to be listened? I think if you're authentic in that, then your action can be guided in whatever technology you decided to use.
Wow. Such a big challenge for everybody. And I guess this is the same message we have to give to parents, teachers, and other formators, that they also have to listen as they use the technology to help them in their work. They have to make sure that they're not losing that very important characteristics of being able to listen and participate. So, I wish I could give you the rest of the night, because we have learned so much from you, Dr. Peter, and I hope that you would be able to oblige us again next time when we start talking about other things. But thank you so much for being with us, for sharing all your thoughts and wisdom, and for guiding us through this last episode. So this episode is brought to you by Cygnus Philippines, of course, in cooperation with TV Maria, with the Episcopal Commission of Social Communication and Radio Veritas Asia, and of course, Cygnus World. I've been putting all the Cygnus people here to be able to share in a regional perspective, and I'm very happy that we have you for this last episode. So thank you very much, and good night, everyone.
Maraming salamat po.
I am Nairn and will always be human. I am Nairn and will always be human. I am Nairn.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Peter.